Welcome everyone. So, big video, all right? Delibird. Delibird was hot garbage. We all know this. The joke Pokemon. Completely unusable. It just was not great. Um, so it's gotten some really important changes. It's going to be really hard to cover all these, and I want to because I have to prioritize things that people are going to think are weird, and then I also have to prioritize the actual important buffs and like the actual really important changes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly mention the signature moves, and then I'm going to go into depth about them later. So yes, most importantly, Delibird has been given two signature moves, both of which will give it an Omni boost. Z Celebrate is priority and is learned way earlier and gives it +1 to all of its stats, while excuse me, Z Present is actually Fairy type, again to match the new Fairy typing, which I'll get into. I promise I'm gonna explain all this stuff. I know there's a lot here. So yeah, Z Present is 200 base power, and then that also is boosted by Hustle, which I need to. There's so much to talk about. Point is, it has two incredible Z moves. Okay, first Z move gives it +1 to all the stats and its priority. Second Z move is not priority, but it gives you +2 to all your stats in it attacks with a very strong Z move. So I'll get into that later. Okay, I will. But first things first, I guess I can address the type change because those are always the most controversial, and I just want to get it out of the way. Three main reasons. Number one, we have a lot of ice flying types in the hack. There's, I believe, 3 or 4, which is not a lot, but it's good. Hold on, let me quickly. Sorry everybody. Ice flying, ice flying, ice flying. There we go. So yeah, there was 4 of them, and now there's only 3. Thankfully. Honestly, the overlap wasn't that bad. I just think Ice Fairy is a really cool typing, and the only other one we have is a Alolan Ninetales, so that's just a really cool typing. And then in terms of logic, I mean, it's okay. So this is a lot. I have a lot of stuff to talk about the typing because it's always bugged me. Like, yeah, I know in the anime it flies. I'm positive it flies in the anime, but otherwise it does not fly. Like at the Dex, it doesn't fly at all. It can't even be used in Sky Battles. Like in Gen 6, they had a bunch of listed Pokemon that can't be used in Sky Battles, and Delibird just can't be. I'm assuming it's because when they tried to animate it flying constantly, it looked ridiculous, and so they just kept it on the floor. I'm assuming that's why. Out of that, where Game Freak knows that it's a flightless fucking bird. Yes, we have Dodrio, which is also a flightless bird that is flying type. So it's not like I'm saying it makes no sense. It's just like I'm just trying to say that removing it is totally fair. Versus if I removed like the flying typing on an obviously flying bird, like I don't know, Swallow or something, it would be stupid because it needs the flying type. So yeah, it's a penguin. It is a flightless bird. Yes, I'm sure it flies with Christmas power or some bullshit. Speaking of, that's the main reason I chose fairy typing, because number one, like, okay, fairy type fits for both reasons. Fairy type fits in terms of like the Azumarill Wigglytuff type fairies, where it's like, okay, they're cute, wholesome Pokemon that are just fairy type because they're cute and like nice. So that's the first thing. He gives a bunch, he gives gifts. He's generous. He shares people. He saves people. That kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the number one reason. And then number two is because what am I trying to say here? Because it is technically mythological. I mean, Christmas spirit and the holidays and all that stuff. It is technically like Santa. Fairy typing fits overall, and it's definitely a more unique typing than ice flying. It would be kind of just not that great with ice flying. There's like Articuno, and it is two new ice flying types. People are thinking, oh, the only one is Delibird and Articuno, isn't there? Well, there's 2 new ones. So, excuse me. So yeah, I hope that explains the typing. I just think it's a cool typing, and I think it fits very nicely. And I think it's also a better typing, arguably, than Ice Flying. Ice Flying is not a bad typing by any means, especially with the new Ice type resists. So yes, Delibird does now resist ground, flying, and of course it's already immune to Dragon, but it resists ground and flying now. So either way, one of the Ice resists is made an immunity by its dual typing, either flying or fairy. It's going to be immune to either ground or dragon anyways, so like who cares? And that's in that regard. And yes, these type changes are optional. I will be releasing a patch without them for the people who hate those types of things. That's I did balance it with the type changes in mind, but that's how people hate it. So back on topic. Yeah. Really, okay. I don't want to waste time on the typing. Like it's a cool type and it fits really well in my opinion. So hopefully that doesn't put too many people off. But great abilities. So it does keep Hustle, and Hustle is massively buffed, and I'm gonna get more into that later. But Hustle is really buffed. And then Technician, it has tons of Technician abilities as well. Hustle, obviously, I kept because it already had Hustle, and it needs it for its really crappy stats. Because even mean, even with the so basically the reason it has a 480 base stat total is for two reasons. Number one, because any higher stats just look ridiculous and are like over the top, and number two, more importantly, is because it's obtainable before Hala, so you can actually get Delibird on Route 3. Which means that I have to balance it as like a level 20 evolution equivalent, because a lot of the level 20 evolutions are 480 base stat total. Basically, all of them are. And it's not that 480 base stat total is a bad base stat total. It's a very good base stat total. It's totally good enough for the Pokemon that need it. So yeah, and then of course these Pokemon usually have like great abilities and great moves that make or break them, you know. So yeah, the stats aren't incredible, but they are good and they are solid, and they're obviously much better. He actually has the highest stat boost out of any Pokemon so far in the hack, and probably will remain that way with the 150 plus stat total, just because of how garbage he was. So yeah, and then as for the logic, I couldn't really think of too many other abilities. I was bouncing between like expertise or skill link. Skill link is bad because hustle's just better in my opinion. Technician boosts more moves, and it boosts all of the skill link moves and then more moves. And it, also skill link is only for physical sets, and I didn't want special sets to have 0 ability benefit. So technician sets have a lot of special moves. So I'll cover the nitty gritty of those abilities after I talk about the signature moves. And also quickly, I want to talk about hustle's attack equivalent, because 75 base attack is pretty solid, but you have to consider hustle. And also the hustle buff, by the way, is that a lot of moves just straight up don't miss anymore, but I'll get into that later if you are new here. Yeah, and also if you're new, you can always check all of these changes in the description on your own. You can go to the Google Sheet yourself, and there's tons of like detailed guides for all of the moves and abilities, and there's tons of new abilities, and all the moves are changed and all that stuff, so you can check all that stuff out yourself. But yeah, you have 75 base attack. So with hustle and a neutral attack nature, you are reaching 373 attack, which is really good. That's like what, 136, 137. You're at 137 base attack with Delibird and hustle, and of course you have tons of moves that just straight up don't miss, meaning that your attack is kind of just a free boost. And a technician is great for physical sets if you don't want to, you know, if you want to use specific moves that you can't use with hustle. It's just a multi-hit moves, and then technician is great. But I'll get into the actual options you have later. First, I want to talk about the Z moves. So yeah. You get Z Celebrate at level 45, which is way earlier than most Pokemon get their Z moves for Omni boosting, and it's priority. So not only is it earlier than most Pokemon get Omni boost moves, but it's also a lot earlier. So I essentially I tiered Delibird's moves so that way he is very viable, because he learns a lot of really good moves early on, such as he learns a lot of technician moves early, and then he gets like all the good utility and stuff. And then around the time you would start to notice, okay, wait, this mon's not that great anymore. You know, in the mid 40s, you might notice like the power creep in the hack, and all the mons are evolving. You get, you know, all the semi-pseudos and pseudos are evolving. Like, oh crap, like this Delibird's kind of sucky now. I mean, it's not bad. It's pretty solid. I mean, it's kind of fast. It's kind of strong. You know, it's not terrible at all, but it's not the most optimal choice anymore, which is not what I would want. So by that point, that's when you learn Celebrate. And yes, it's a signature move. The animation literally just shows a giant present being summoned, so I think it fits really cute. I think it's a cute little signature move for him. And that is priority. So you always get that Omni boost before the opponent will attack you, which is great, because you know that makes you much bulkier at +1 defenses and +1 speed and +1 offenses. You're extremely strong, extremely fast, and extremely bulky. It's a great boosting move, and it's a staple on Delibird for sure. And then at level 58, you get access to Enchantment, which is another new move that works like Geomancy, but it only gives you +1 speed, which is plenty for Delibird, because 90 base speed at +1 is very fast and will outspeed most things. So yeah, and then you get +2 special defense and +2 special attack, which is very strong and very nice for special boosting sets, especially. Obviously, Enchantment is kind of useless on hustle sets. You would rather run Z Celebrate, but Enchantment Power Herb is great nonetheless. And that would be around like basically there's like a bunch of power curves, I guess you could say, towards the end of the game, where it's like, okay, this mon is kind of not that great anymore. Oh crap, well now I learned Enchantment, now I'm amazing, now I learned this amazing move, you know, so he has tons of stuff to just keep him viable. And then lastly, and most importantly, yes, it does get Z present at 65, however, by the time you learn that, you might not have the Ferrinium Z yet, I'm not exactly positive. Mina's Trial will be in the 60s, but I don't know what level it'll end on. Most likely she'll be like 65, 66. She's actually the first fight. Does she give you the Ferrinium Z after you beat her, or after? I'm pretty sure she gives it to you after Totem Mabambi. I'm almost positive she gives you after Totem Mabambi, not after you beat her in battle. So Totem Mabambi is the last, you know, of the Mina's Trial fights. So that'll be a roughly level 65, maybe 70, probably 65. somewhere around that mid-60s curve. So you'll be learning present just in time for that. Worst case, you have to keep it for a few levels and it's useless, which is a balancing factor because it's extremely strong. Oh my god, you can totally just sweep parts of the league with Z present because it's 200 base power. It gives you +2 to all your stats. You get a Sora's Dance, you get an Iron Defense, you get an Amnesia, you get a Nasty Plot, and you get an Agility boost, all in one turn, okay? While you attack. So not only is it a 200 base power Twinkle Tackle, but it gives you that giant attack boost and speed boost and defense boost and whatever else, okay? And of course, it can't miss with Hustle. That's another thing I haven't mentioned in Hustle guides so far, or, Hustle Pokemon guides. For some reason, I haven't mentioned it yet. Hustle doesn't miss with Z moves, all right? And that's extremely strong. That lets you use really powerful moves. So Delibird can do that the whole game. Flying EMZ Hustle, for example, is like a viable thing for early game or whatever. You also have tons of other great stuff, but again, keep in mind how strong he is with Hustle. People think that attacks, attack-based stats work in certain ways, but it doesn't. A 50% boost on 75 base attack is almost double. Is 137 base attack roughly, which is almost double. 150 would be double. So, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, Z present is just super. It's kind of overpowered, but it's Delibird. Who cares? It isn't priority, so you do actually have to make sure that you outspeed them somehow, because if you don't and they kill you, then you're fucked because you can't run Sash with a Z move, obviously. So you can't run like Sash. Z Celebrate is priority, so Z Celebrate could technically be better in some cases because you don't need the +2 to all your stats. In some cases, you might only need that +1. But of course, Z Present is extremely strong and very, very good boosts as well. It's high boost, it's a strong boost, and it's a strong move. So despite not being priority, it's definitely amazing. And the reason it's not priority is just, excuse me, that would remove any skill from using it whatsoever. You would just click it and instantly win like half the battles because it does have access to multi-hit moves which you can use with Technician and Z Present, and you would just fucking sweep everything. Comet Punch, Icicle Spear, Pummel plus Z Present, if it was priority, would mean you could just sweep everything because that +2 defense and special defense, you're probably going to live whatever hit they're throwing at you. Another thing that keeps Delibird in check is First Impression. First Impression does always crit now, so it's 60 base power and always crits, which is a balancing factor. Also, Ruthless Pokemon in general will be critting Delibird, of course, but most importantly is First Impression because it's priority. So even if you have that Z present up, a First Impression is neutral on you now because Ice type is buffed. So Delibird does resist stuff like Ground and Flying now, but Fairy is nerfed in the sense that Bug is now neutral on it. Bug is now neutral on Fighting, Ghost, and Fairy. So Delibird does not resist Bug anymore. So a neutral, strong First Impression is probably just going to one-shot it. Like a stab First Impression on like a decently strong Mon, like a strong Mon, okay? Like a Technician or Ruthless Mon or Hustle Mon will definitely one-shot it. So that is something to keep in mind when you're using Z Present. So it won't be able to sweep in the entire league, but it can definitely sweep a lot of the league. That's for sure. At least 1 or 2 of the battles in the league will get swept. It's really funny and cool. Who knows? Maybe I'll be giving the AI more stuff like, switch moves and that kind of stuff, Sash obviously, but the thing is with Sash opponents, you do have access to multi-hit moves which bypass that. So yeah, all right, those Z moves are absolutely broken. Enchantment is also broken. All these moves are really overpowered and strong on it because it needs the boost because it's Delibird. So I think that's very fun. I think that's very soulful and fitting for change-wise for it. I would rather that than just give it 112 attack, strong attack because Delibird. Like, no. That's kind of lazy in my opinion. I would rather give it some signature moves and some really cool tools with good stats, but not anything crazy. Because again, it is just a fucking Christmas penguin. It's nothing too crazy at all. Like, it's not like it fits to have any stat over 90. It doesn't look that fast. It doesn't look that strong. It's not that, obviously the physical attack is extremely powerful with Hustle, but yeah. And of course, 75, 90 offenses are great with Technician, and the Technician moves it has and access to boosting it has. So speaking of, I can now actually get into the nitty-gritty of that. So first, I'll be talking about your Hustle options. Then I'll be talking about your Technician options. Also, logically, I think Technician fits pretty okay. There wasn't too many abilities that fit well, to be honest. I considered like Fairy Aura and stuff, but I overall settled on Technician because he does have a lot of moves that are boosted by Technician, and it kind of does fit because he gives the presence and stuff. So like, I don't know, he's skillful in that regard. It's weird, but it's Delibird, man. I don't know what else I could do. Besides the incredible Z moves, obviously. So, yeah, you get a lot of really awesome stuff with Hustle. So Hustle, again, that gives you base 137 attack roughly, and you have tons of moves that don't miss. So you have access to Stab, Fairy Blow, and Ice Shard, which are 50 and 45 base power, and then you have access to Sucker Punch, which are all priority moves that don't miss. Okay, so those are really great. on Delibird. Those get the hustle boost and they don't miss. You have dual stab, you have sucker punch for coverage. Then you have access to fake out, which is nice little thing for early game that doesn't miss. I'm covering all the moves that don't miss, by the way. Holdback is incredible on hustle and technician sets because of the way holdback works. So holdback is a 45 base power fairy type move that never kills the opponent. It will never knock them out. It works like false swipe. And what that does though is it gives you a +1 attack and accuracy boost. So you click that once, and it also can't miss. So you click that once with hustle, you now get +1 accuracy and +1 attack, so you're much stronger, and your regular moves won't miss. So you can click holdback, and then right after holdback, you can click, hoodwink or ice punch or whatever other, physical move you want to use, and it won't miss anymore. And you get that +1 attack, and then you get another +1 attack from hustle. So you essentially have a 2.25 times boost to your 75 base attack, which makes it absolutely insane. And another thing is that holdback is actually very useful in the sense that it doesn't kill, because you can use something like charm or befriend to drop their attack or special attack by 2, get the opponent to the point where they're doing no damage to you, and then you can click holdback 5 times. It has 5 PP, and you can get +5 attack. Meanwhile, if you use power up punch, you'll probably eventually start knocking them out once you get the attack boost, which isn't good because then you can't get your boost up properly. Because maybe the next Pokemon is as faster than you now, and you're not strong enough to kill it with Fairy Blow or Ice Shard, for example. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to take advantage of holdback. That's a staple move for a while for sure, especially on hustle sets. It's also solid on technician sets because it's stab and stuff, but mostly just for hustle sets because of the accuracy boost. It's a great option. And then I did give them the multi-hit moves early. Most technician mons. Oh, excuse me. Oh man. Sorry. Most technician mons do get the multi-hit moves later, but I did give it to them early because of their physical attack set is not that great without hustle. So, technician, Fury Pex, Pummel, and Bullet Seed are, 25 base power. All those moves are 25 base power, all right? And you can see what type they are just by looking at them. So that's incredible. You have dual stabbing, you have good coverage. Pummel is one of the best coverage moves for the multi-hit sets for sure. And of course, those are great with technician. And they also are boosted by hustle, but they can miss, so I wouldn't run them with hustle unless you're running holdback or a wide lens. That's another thing, is that hustle is buffed also because of the wide lens buff, which gives you 15%. So if you run hustle wide lens, you have a 92% chance to hit your moves as opposed to 88% chance on most moves, which is really nice. You have dual wing beat for technician. Yeah, I'll cover the technician moves after. Okay, so I'll cover that after. But yeah, hustle wise, you don't get too much else via level up for hustle besides yeah, nothing else that is a no missing move. Obviously, you have tons of great physical moves like Kerfuffle is fairy type outrage and stuff. Medium Mash is 95 base power. All that stuff is great, but it's not a hustle move in that sense. By TM and Tutor, you have Shadow Punch and U-Turn, which can't miss. Shadow Punch is 80 base power coverage. Yes, Shadow Punch and Sucker Punch are kind of weird on it, but I just only gave it to them for hustle. So yeah, Shadow Punch is strong. U-Turn is really strong, can't miss as well, 75 base power. Smart Strike is incredible. Smart Strike, it's kind of weird, but I figured it fits because of their, number one, they can summon anything from their present bag, and number two, they have a beacon stuff, and they did learn stuff like Drill Peck, so I was like, all right, Smart Strike can fit pretty well. I have been giving Smart Strike to more mons in general. It's no longer just a horn move. It works with any sharp appendage, so if they can jab them, then Smart Strike would fit pretty well, in my opinion. And that, of course, gives them a +1 accuracy boost now as a buff, so not only can it not miss like it used to, it's 75 base power, and it gives you +1 accuracy, so it's like holdback in that sense, where you get that +1 accuracy boost, then you can use regular moves afterwards and not miss them anymore, which is incredible. Yeah, tons of new physical fairy stab as well with Hoodwink and Play Rough and Fairy Blow and all this stuff. So that's awesome. Again, you can check out for yourself in the Google Sheet if you want to just check out the spreadsheet yourself and look at all the changes, because I would take way too much time to cover every little nitty gritty move change, but there is tons of them. Basically every move is changed for the most part. So yeah. Smart Strike is great with hustle. What else with hustle? I think that's it. Sucker Punch I already covered. Yeah, that's it with hustle. Okay, great stuff right there. You have that priority, strong priority. You have those strong, hold back. You got all this amazing stuff. It's really awesome. And of course, you don't need to run moves that don't miss. You can always just run accuracy boosting stuff or wide lens, or just go Unga Bunga and click buttons and not care about the accuracy. Although that is pretty risky. Point is, you get a giant attack stat with hustle, so it's kind of needed to make him strong. And a technician is great. Technician is great for special and physical sets. Physical sets of Technician are weaker than hustle sets, obviously, but for the weaker moves, they are also Technician boosters and stuff like Fairy Blow and Ice Shard. and Hold Back are all Technician boosted as well. So Technician, all right. You have the priority moves. You also have Special Priority and Frost Flurry and Pixie Dust, which is Technician boosted. Peck for early game, just for Hala and stuff. Fake Out and Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin is gives you +2 speed now, and it's like Gen 7 or Gen 8 rather, where it's 50 base power, which is a niche little thing for Technician sets. You could totally do that. You could do that. You could use like Rapid Spin in conjunction with like Z Bestow, because Z Bestow gives you +2 attack now. And so at level 25, that's very, very powerful. That's like basically a free Swords Dance. They do have Swords Dance. They also have Calm Mind and Bulk Up for setup, but of course those are later on TMs. So back to Technician moves. You have Draining Kiss, which becomes 75 base power, which is nice with Technician. Disarming Voice is 90 base power at Technician and lowers attack by 1 always, which is like a special version of Snarl, which is great. Or sorry, fairy version of Snarl rather. Fury Peck's Pummel, all those multi-hit moves are also Technician boosted, of course, and those are very powerful with Technician. They are essentially maximum 188 base power, minimum 75 base power, and on average they are 116 base power, which is great. Dual Wing Beat is very strong and consistent. Dual Wing Beat is 135 base power with Technician. That's great. That's it by level up, and then by TM and Tutor you have access to Ominous Wind, which is 90 base power, 15% chance to boost all your stats. Covet is 90 base power fairy type stab, which is nice because you get that as soon as you beat Hala. So you get a pretty strong fairy stab there on Technician sets for sure. Knockoff is always 90 base power now because it's quote unquote nerfed to 60 base power. That's like one of the only few move nerfs along with Scald. Which is now 75. Very, very minor. Although Knockoff is actually low-key a buff because Technician Mons now can use it better. So, take that as you will. And more Mons get both moves now, so. Water Pulse and Icy Wind are also Technician boosted, so that's awesome. I actually will give them Air Cutter at this level. I forgot to do that. Block an Air Cutter. Air Cutter is also Technician boosted, obviously becomes 90 base power, which is nice. Let me just go to level up moves and fix that real quick. Delibird, 19. Air Cutter, okay, we're good. That's good for Hala and stuff, also just nice for coverage. So yeah, Water Pulse is great. With Technician, it becomes 90 base power, same as Ominous Wind. Icy Wind is strong. Disarming Voice, you have tons of 90 base power Technician moves early game, which is really strong. And that's another thing, like I really balance Delibird so that way it's strong at every point in the game because it's very strong for early game. And then by the time you get to the mid game, it's still really strong because of the moves it learns and because the stats are still pretty solid and has great abilities. And then once you start to fall off in the mid 40s because of power creep, then you get Z Celebrate, which makes it insane. And then once you start to fall off again in the late game because of just how strong stuff is late game, you get 2 incredibly powerful moves with Enchantment and Z present. So yeah, you also have access to Reliable Sleep with Sing, which is 80% accurate and always sleeps them for 2 turns. So you can use Sing in conjunction with your boosting moves to boost much easier and more reliably if you want to do that. So that's cool. Back to Technician though. You do have Power Punch, which is nice with Technician sets. Hold Back already covered. That looks like it's it with Technician, so yeah. Also Grass Knot technically is Technician boosted in some cases. Although you do have Bullet Seed, but before level 29, if you want that grass coverage for Technician sets, you can run Grass Knot. It is physical. If you're curious as to why, it's because the damage is literally, number 1, we need more physical grass moves. Number 2, the damage is quite literally dealt by tripping the opponent. Like that's what damages them as they fall, but they're not. So that should be physical in my opinion. So that's awesome because it also always lowers speed by 1, so it does -1 speed. And basically what I'm trying to say here is that early game, a lot of the Pokemon that you're using Grass Knot on are not that heavy. So most of the time you're going to be hitting for 40 to 60 base power with Grass Knot. And with Technician that becomes 60 or 90. So the average power of Grass Knot is much higher, is my point. So that's nice until you get Bullet Seed. Obviously, then Bullet Seed is just superior mostly. Yeah. You get tons of other great new coverage moves. Some of them are kind of funky, but I think it fits fine given that he's a stupid little Christmas guy and he has, he already learned a bunch of weird moves anyways, but Egg Move into TM. So why not just give him a couple more? And he has Fairy type, so that's why I think stuff like Aura Sphere fits now. Yeah, just tons of awesome, amazing, important coverage here. Incredible boosting moves, really incredible. Good utility. God, the boosting moves are really what makes or break Delibird. Obviously, it's so overpowered and strong late game. the only thing that really keeps it in check again is the fact that number one, first impression exists, and number two, so like for example, if a Z Delibird uses it on you, all you have to do is just get a decently strong first impression on you, one shot it, bypass right to the +2 defense. You know, it is also 4 times weak to steel, so stuff like bullet punch and magnetic burst, which are priority, will kill it as well. I don't know if they'll kill it due to +2 boosts, but you know, if it's stat, it probably maybe would. I'm not positive. Depends on the Pokemon that's using it, of course. But most importantly, yeah, first impression. And then, of course, for the player, what makes it harder to sweep is the fact that you only have base 90 speed, which is solid. If you check the speed tier guides, you can see where Delibird stands out or stacks up currently. And at +1 and +2 speed, obviously, it's incredibly fast. Another thing you can also run is you can run Z Present with no speed investment, which is great. You can also do team support, so you can run like taunt on your teammate with like parting shot or U-turn to get out. So what you could do is you can taunt the opponent, force them into using a specific move. You can disable whatever you want to do. You can really make the conditions perfect for you to be able to get off that Z present. And then when the time is right, you parting shot slowly. You get your Delibird in for free. Then you collect Z present, and you just go to town. And at that point, but you could also get up like hazards, for example, if you're not running the multi-hit moves like Comet Punch or Icicle Spear or Fury Peck's Pummel Bullet Seed. If you're not running those, or Dual Wing Beat or whatever, if you're not running those with Technician sets, then you're gonna be stopped by Focus Sash sets. So you might want to, set up like Stealth Rocks on your lead Pokemon. Get rocks plus debuffing plus like a speed dropping move, for example. Scary Face or something, which is also a really good move now. You have tons of options, okay? You have a lot of freedom and flexibility there. So if you're smart about it, you can really guarantee that Z present goes off. And then once that Z present goes off, if the conditions are right, you're sweeping the entire fight for free. And there are some fights where you can just click it turn 1 and win, probably. I mean, it might be harder than I'm making it sound, but it's still something that can happen. And that's funny and strong and, yeah, super awesome. Just funny fucking Delibird, man. You love to see it. Super amazing buffs here. Great signature moves, great abilities, great stats given the fact that it has these moves and these abilities. Really cool type change, really awesome new move pool. I think that about sums it up. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you drop a like. That would help with the algorithm. If you could drop a like and leave a comment and stuff, that helps. If you listen this far and you enjoyed this kind of thing, I recommend subscribing so you can see more videos. And also you can go check my other videos where I cover all the other Pokemon so far in detail, and just as much detail as this, if not more. You can check the description for the link to the sheets, like I said, so you can check all these changes for yourself. And then you can also go join my Discord server. And there I'll be giving updates as to how my progress is going and other stuff like that. You can also play my other hack in there if that interests you. So, while you wait for this one, it's an older hack of mine. It's pretty good. So yeah, I'll be back for more, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye.